And we're back with just 15 minutes of continuation of Fox 10 Talks today. And Dean did line up a mystery cam for us, Celeste.
Yes, he did. Thank you, Dino.
We have a format we do like to keep to this morning. I'm just looking at that and looking at those that pleasant lake out there, and I think I'm going to go with a Arkansas.
I'm going to go with Missouri, but can we leave it up just for a few seconds, Ron, and see if folks at home want to chime in?
Right.
And while we're giving you a little bit of extra time to take a look at this shot, I'm going to give a quick shout out to Frankie here. Frankie D. He said, that was pretty cool. Glad to have experienced that with the FTT family.
Oh, that's
great. Because he said we all had kind of a watch party. Husky Mom said, Frankie, we had a watch party.
Yes, we did.
The Pope. Yeah, that was cool.
That's
that was
a good
cool.
way of looking
and it
at
was a lot of
sure.
good information that we received too about just you and I were learning about it, and we all kind of listened to what he was sharing. And a lot of those Latin languages are very similar.
Yes.
So if you know Spanish or Portuguese or something like that, maybe it was a little easier to maybe try to figure out what he was saying.
It's the language of love.
Yeah,
yes.
It is. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I went with Arkansas. I don't know if we ever ended up with any guesses on.
Oh, we got a Michigan from Lil Philosophy.
Okay.
We got a New England from Louis Gonzalez.
All right.
Tennessee B. Miguel. Sherry Nevada Pup said Florida. So we've had a few. Louisiana from Linda Monterth.
All right. Let's see. And what's your guess, by the way?
I'm going to go Missouri.
Okay.
It's a big guess.
Here we go.
All right, here's
everybody.
The mystery cam.
Yeah.
The answer sheet.
This is, by the way, what we call kind of a hard shift in coverage. We just went from, the election of a new leader of the 1.4 billion strong Catholic Church to the mystery cam.
Yeah.
But Celeste, we move on.
So here we go.
What do you got?
Oh, so we got Smithfield, Rhode Island.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I would have never had guessed.
There's one last look at it right there. Looks like a lake. Somebody wanting to put a fishing pole in it for sure.
Beautiful houses, too, there.
You know, what we could do now, I think, Celeste, is talk just a little bit about 2 or 3 of our big stories before we clear out of here for Ty and Anita.
Okay.
And if you didn't see the video yet, it is really something. There was a very intense apartment fire that was happening up around the side of the PV Mall, that whole new area where they're developing. And there was a good Samaritan who just happened to come along, Logan Lindy. If you're not familiar with this story and you're part of the audience around the world that is watching us this morning, we did want to just share with you a little bit about, this is a fellow who was across the street, I think working on his truck or getting some gas, and he jumped into action, and he's really the hero of this whole story. And here's a little of what he had to say.
And take action. I want to try to get people out of there. We were just trying to knock on all the doors throughout the apartment complex to try to tell people, like, get out, there's a fire.
And
Look at him, a hero.
He started up on the 3rd floor.
And take action. I want to try to get people out of there.
One
We were just trying to knock on all the doors throughout the apartment complex to try to tell people, like, get out, there's a fire.
And so, Celeste, I mean, 2 people and a child ended up having to go to the hospital. Look at these firefighting efforts, and there's the aftermath.
Wow.
He actually brilliantly, knowing that fire climbs a wall, went up to the 3rd floor first.
Good for him.
To try to save those lives, banged on the door, came back down
Look
to
at the flames.
Look at that. And this lady right there, she's like, come on, you guys have got to get out. And then the 2nd floor and then the 1st floor as well. And yeah, we did have some injuries. They are in stable condition. One was a child. We hope everything comes out of this okay for everybody.
Absolutely.
But still, it's a disturbing story, but a hero was involved in it.
I know.
Now, here's where the story takes a twist.
Yes.
Our Ellen McNamara just happened to be in the area at the time. And so yesterday during an afternoon version of Fox 10 Talks, we had her sit down with our Brian Webb and Trenton Hooker, one of our great producers, to just discuss about what it was like when she saw this unfolding and wanted to reach out and make sure that everybody was aware of the hero here.
Very cool.
Here we go.
So this morning I had just dropped my son off at school. He's at kindergarten, and this was near the Paradise Valley Mall, the redevelopment. And so I dropped him off, and then I see a lot of smoke rising quickly. And I thought it was at the Paradise Valley Mall, you know, where this all development is happening. And I'm going, wow, this is going to be a huge story if this is all up in flames right now. So I drove there very quickly trying to figure out what was going on. I called the news desk to say, I don't know if this is on fire, but I think it might be. You guys probably need to get the helicopter up. I'll go check it out right now. So it turned out to be apartments. It wasn't at the PV Mall, but it was some apartments by the Jacksons, which is, you know, the car wash. And it was going up in flames big time. So I was able to pull in. I mean, it was before the fire department had even arrived.
Normal people on their way home would just keep driving to work or go home.
Yes.
Morning commutes.
Right. But you know, so when I had pulled in, though, I mean, there were, you know, people that were kind of going, "What is going on?" Looky-loos, but there were people, guys that I could see who were running towards the apartments to help. And that was incredible to see. When I was there, I pulled into the Jacksons, and I was watching these guys go in to physically try to get people out.
Wow.
And it, you know, you don't really know you see what's going on, but you're trying to process what's going on in real time. And so I just stayed there, and I kind of stayed back because I didn't want to get in the way. And then you could hear the sirens coming. So sirens were coming. And then I was shooting video to get video for us here at Fox, because I was the only media person that I knew of on scene.
Bosses are going to like that one.
Definitely will.
Right. Well, and I can say this too, no one was hurt, thank goodness. I mean, I know that people were checked out at the hospital, we found out later, but everybody made it out.
I guess so.
What a crazy ordeal, Ron.
Oh, my
What
goodness.
a wild ordeal. So in the chat box, some people have actually shared their thoughts. Louis Gonzalez says, prayers for the injured and displaced. Jens Wall says, that's crazy, you know, to witness something like that. On the mystery cam, Linda Monter said she guessed Rhode Island a day or two ago. Does that count?
There you go. You know what's interesting about this, Celeste, is so my brother-in-law is in town, Mike, married to my sister,
Hi,
Linda.
Mike. Hi, Mike.
And, you know, they now are making it a regular habit to watch. By the way, you can watch us on TV now.
Yes.
On Channel 45, which is Fox 10 Extra. And he was saying, you know, the thing about the news, there's so much bad news in the news. But I said, we kind of specialize with what we do with Fox 10 Talks every morning at 10 a.m.
Yes.
Everybody watching on YouTube or on the Fox local app with the good news. And that's exactly what this whole story was all about.
It really was, because this man, and I asked this in the chat, I said, you know, let me know if you've actually driven by and maybe seen a fire somewhere, but this was just a guy. He saw somebody needed help. He jumped into action, ran up to the third floor, told people to get out, you know, and that's something. If you see an emergency or something, there's so many people around that'll jump in to help.
We are also going to jump into another one of our big stories this morning.
Nice transition, Ron.
After a lot of angst and people saying, are we ever going to see any deals, any actual trade deals? So the president, in case you missed it, it was about 8 o'clock this morning, spoke from the Oval Office. You're going to hear what he had to say. This is a deal with the UK and the US. And part of this deal actually involves something for the UK, which is the president decided, you know, they make some nice cars over there.
Very nice.
Right?
Yes.
What, from Rolls-Royce to Jaguars, I think? And so he said, we'll let you bring in 100,000 cars.
The Rolls, yeah.
And, you know, that can be without the 25% tariff on cars. And so the UK's like, we're on board. What can we give you guys?
Oh.
And so you'll hear also from Howard Lutnick. And by the way, the stock market's booming. It's up more than 500. Let me just see if we have.
Does this mean that the Rolls are going to drop down to be the same price as those Hyundais? Because I'm on it if that's the case.
Oh, Celeste. I don't know. I still see you driving your Tahoe.
I do love it.
Anyway, here's
my Kidmobile.
Here is what that sounded like it's going to be sought for here from the White House this morning. Then we're going to roll into the poll question.
I don't know if the media knows, but the U.S. and U.K. have been working for years to try and make a deal. And it never quite got there. Yeah. It did with this prime minister. So I want to just congratulate you.
Well, with this president, this prime minister, we've managed to achieve what many people have tried to achieve for many years.
Planes. They sell Rolls-Royce engines to Boeing. We've agreed to let Rolls-Royce engines and those kind of plane parts to come over tariff-free. And what you're going to hear today is there's going to be an announcement at the UK that they are buying $10 billion worth of Boeing planes later today. But I'm going to let the name of the airline announce it because that's theirs to do it.
That's a big announcement.
It was a really interesting news conference. So here we go with our poll question, and we have it for you both ways as usual. If for folks who grab it on the QR code, 14% say, I actually knew Trump could make this work, but 72% say, no, inflation is still going to be bad. 14% say feeling a little more hopeful. So let's go over to our YouTube poll question, and this is really interesting because at the same time that we see results like this,
yes,
we have, let me just pull that up for you right here, as a matter of fact. And it was running a little bit more the other direction, Celeste.
Yes, Ron.
Let me pull it up, and we can tell you.
Here, I'll go to the top of the chat also and pull up that.
Right there.
Let's see if we have
and that looks about like this. 48% are saying, I knew Trump could start putting some deals together, but 47% are saying, I still feel the same. I still think there's going to be inflation. And 5% say, I'm feeling hopeful. You know what? Celeste, we got to clear out of here and make room for Ty and Anita.
I was going to say chicken butt.
11 o'clock.
You know what?
Huh?
Chicken butt.
Yeah, okay, good.
That's what I say to my kids. I'm like, what?
So we've given you a sort of a truncated version today. Please vote in our poll question, either with that QR code or if you go to YouTube. What are we at? Almost 400 votes.
Do we want to give a quick, everybody, there's a lot of chatter in the chat box with the Dave Cam. Can we just give him a little love here? Look at that big smile, Ron.
Ah, that's right.
That's, you know, we like to end on a happy note here on Fox 10 Talks.
Yeah.
And this is the happy moment with that face.
Yeah. Normally we like to close with what we call a beauty shot. Today we have the Dave Cam for you.
Well, I think his wife would probably say that's a beauty shot.
Well, he's he's a handsome guy.
Why is he turning red all of a sudden? What is happening?
By the way, if you're watching for the first time, we just continue on YouTube now with Ty and Anita. They're going to have plenty of fun, a lot of interesting stuff for you, and we appreciate you watching on on Fox 10 Extra Channel 45.
That's
as well.
right, and on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And we love connecting with all of you on social media too. On Instagram, I'm Syleste Fox 10,
and I'm Hooner Fox 10.
Have a great day.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. It is May 8th, It is May 8th.
A big day for over 1.48 billion Catholics around the world, a new pope. 4 votes, and Pope Francis was voted in with 5 votes on the second day. So this is slightly sooner. And I think shocking to many, even though he was on the list, first American pope ever to be elected, making history.
I was just kind of reading a couple of little things before we came in here. He was kind of like a long shot. No one really thought. He wasn't really on anybody's radar because we kind of had those top 6 that would get a lot of attention as we went into the conclave, but he really wasn't the one that a lot of folks were talking about.
You know, there were reports that, even in our newscast earlier this morning, that said no one thought it would be an American pope because the cardinals thought America had too much power already as it is. So I, for one, was very shocked. I have to say.
He's from your hometown.
And he's from Chicago,
He's from
Illinois.
Chicago. Do you know him?
Sure.
He could be a long-lost uncle or something, right?
Yeah.
Well, probably not.
No, probably not. But obviously a lot of chatter amongst my family members. We're Catholic. Everyone is Catholic. And so being from Chicago, we're Polish. So Pope John Paul II was a really big deal. Really big deal for us, especially my grandmothers. So this is really exciting. But, they were talking about how history was repeating itself because typically you do see 4th or 5th vote. And then, the question was it going to be a pope, one of the front runners?
Yeah.
And his name was on the list, but not one of the names, as you mentioned, who was discussed.
I know when we saw that super come up and it said American,
we
were like,
what? Did we miss something?
So that's pretty interesting. So we're going to continue to follow this throughout the rest of the morning. Of course, we're going to have a big recap if you want to join us at Fox 10 News at noon on Channel 10. Of course, we're going to have much more on that, you guys. But we're talking about this. We love to see them. Monarch butterflies, and look how beautiful this video is. This is from one of the wildlife centers here in the United States that kind of preserves and talks about monarch butterflies. And that's going to be one of our topics on this, what day is today?
May
Thursday.
8th, Thursday the 8th.
I forget what day it is. So we have a special guest in studio with us. I want to introduce Natalie. You are with the Desert Botanical Gardens. First of all, welcome. Thanks for coming in. Let's talk about this because I didn't know this. I actually went to the big sale, the Desert Botanical Gardens sale. You guys do that. Is it annually or semi-annually?
Twice a year,
Twice a year, okay.
And you do get great deals.
Yeah, and
you
great
learn,
plants.
And you learn a lot. That's why I love going. I learned so much.
Yes, and this is where I learned about this, that you guys kind of have this milkweed program out there because I didn't know this, but monarch butterflies are in such decline. Can you walk us through kind of what's happening right now with the monarch butterfly population?
Sure, yeah. So we are seeing declines with monarch butterflies. Generally, when we talk about monarchs, we talk about 2 main groups or 2 main flyways. And those different flyways have separate overwintering grounds for the most part.
When you say flyways, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, what does that
does that mean like little paths, like migration paths?
Yeah, basically. Sort of 2 main groups. So
this is a silly question.
There's no silly questions on
there's
Fox
so
10
many
Talks.
different types of butterflies. For people who may not know, what exactly is a monarch butterfly? Like, which one is that?
Yeah, so the Latin name is Danaus plexippus, so it's a particular species of butterfly. So really bright orange, striking black markings,
They're the
white on
beautiful
them.
ones.
And
they're fairly large, right, Natalie?
Fairly large, range across North America.
Wow, okay.
So this is kind of video of what, now it doesn't look like a monarch, but maybe,
That
is one. Is that one?
I think
these
there's
are
one
not,
resting on the rock.
So these are queen butterflies that were just on the video. Those are closely related to monarchs, so in the same genus. Have a lot of the same habitat needs. They also need those milkweeds as host plants, but a different butterfly.
Okay, so let's talk about what exactly is happening with that before we kind of got off on a tangent. I apologize.
Sure, no,
This is what happens with
I
us.
know.
Oh, please, yeah.
We have lots of questions.
So many questions pop into your head. And Louie and Linda and Lisa and Frankie are all saying good morning. So they're watching with us. Bo Jackson is watching from Upper Michigan.
Oh, nice.
Great.
All right.
Yeah,
Very
lots of
cool.
monarchs
They have
there.
monarch, but they do have monarchs.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah. So monarchs are famous, right, for this really long migratory journey. And they generally have 2 overwintering sites. So they travel somewhere for the winter. They don't like really warm temperatures, and they don't like freezing temperatures. So they're going to move out of habitat when either of those temperatures are hit. So generally, we've got an overwintering site on numerous sites on the Pacific coast, and then in central Mexico. And having all those butterflies there relatively at the same time every year allows scientists to get a really good count on them, better understand their population and any population changes. So we have seen declines in both of those overwintering groups for many years.
And Natalie, in just kind of my research, I mean, we're talking about a pretty significant decline, right?
Very significant, yeah. So we've seen decreases in those populations by 80 to 90%, depending on if we're talking about that western flyway or the eastern flyway, and some really high risk of extinction for this migratory phenomenon.
What do we need the butterflies for? Every single insect, every single bird and animal is important to our to the geosystem, right? I mean, to everything. So what did the butterflies do?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So butterflies are pollinators. They're not the most efficient pollinators, but they do pollinate. Of course, they're also food for other animals, birds, other insects, reptiles. And the thing that we love to talk about with monarchs and why we spend so much time talking about monarchs is because a lot of people have this emotional connection with them. You know, they have a wide range. A lot of people have seen them growing up. They have fond memories of them. So for us, it's a really nice way to get people thinking about conservation, you know, and you can take a really actionable and measurable step for monarch conservation right in your yards and have that connection right at home.
So that leads us to what we've got here kind of on the front of the table here.
Yeah.
This is milkweed.
Yes.
And, you know, I didn't know anything about milkweed until I was, like I said, at the Desert Botanical Garden. You guys were talking about being able to plant milkweed here in Arizona. So walk us through kind of what exactly is milkweed and how does that correlate to the monarch butterfly?
Yes. So generally when we talk about milkweed, we're talking about plants in the genus Asclepias, and we have a really high diversity of these plants here in Arizona, about 30 species in the state, which is pretty high, some of the highest diversity on the West Coast for these plants. So they're found all over the state. You know, they have different forms, as you can see, different microhabitats.
So these are both milk thistle.
These are both milkweeds.
Weed.
Yeah.
Weed, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And so these plants are important because they're the only plant that monarchs will lay their eggs on and that their caterpillars can eat. So they have evolved over time to eat these plants. They ingest a toxin that's inside the plant, and that helps them defend against predators.
Really?
Wow.
Now, we always talk about how in Arizona it is so hard to plant anything unless it's like a cactus. But when I looked on your website, it was talking about how milkweed actually doesn't need a whole lot of water, and it does survive in these pretty brutal summer temperatures we get.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, you know, at Desert Botanical Garden in general, we try to promote native plants. They generally are going to need less care. They're going to do better with, you know, our natural environment, natural soils, things like that. I've got two different species here. So the one on this side, kind of tall, thin stems. Yeah,
kind of
that
hard
one.
to see on camera, but we kind of get the idea.
Yeah, so that one's the desert milkweed. That one's a true low desert species, so really low water use. Yeah, become more common around town in plantings and landscapings. And that one loves full sun, really low water use. The other one is called Arizona milkweed, native to the southeastern part of the state. We're really just at the northern part of its range here in Arizona. It ranges down into Mexico. And this one is naturally a wash plant. So likes if you've got a little more protected area in your yard under a tree or something like that.
Can I ask a dumb question, another dumb question?
There are no dumb questions.
No dumb questions, yeah.
Now, if I just planted something this small in my yard, is that helping? Or does it need to be more
Do you need
of a
10
mature?
of them?
Yeah, or do you need a lot of them, or do you need these need to be more mature? Or kind of how can we best help that monarch butterfly population if we wanted to?
Yeah, so I mean, anything's going to help. We do recommend planting at least 3 milkweeds sort of close by together because monarch caterpillars can eat a lot, and those queen caterpillars as well, which are also using these milkweeds. So if you get caterpillars on your plant, you know, you want them to have enough food. And
that's a good sign if you're getting the caterpillars,
That's a
because
great
sometimes
sign,
you don't want those other little things eating other plants.
So, right,
but this
keep in
one,
mind, yeah, you're planting this so that it can get eaten.
Okay, so how much, if we had this plant there, how much would they of this would they eat? Do they, because I would maybe panic, my plant is dying or something's happening. I might not know what to look for.
Right. They can eat a lot of the plant.
Okay.
So if you're seeing a significant amount of the plant eaten, that's normal. That's okay. If you're running out of food, I get phone calls all the time. Oh, I've got some caterpillars. Can I bring them to the garden because we're running out of milkweed? So you can always do that too. Or there are a lot of supportive groups on Facebook, people who are watching out for monarch caterpillars. So.
That is so fascinating.
How long have we known that the butterflies are in jeopardy, and how long have we been promoting the milkweed? Are there studies? Is this helping? I guess is where I'm going with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, monitoring at these sites has been going on since 1980s, 1990s, and these official overwintering counts, have been showing us this decline for a long time, and we sort of need to see this over time. It's hard to know, what's helping because we need such a long time to be able to see these population trends. But certainly having more milkweed on the landscape, and not just milkweed, but also flowering plants. Adult butterflies are drinking nectar from flowers, and good overwintering habitat. All of those things are going to help monarch butterfly populations.
If not eaten, how big will these plants get so people know where to plant them? Close to the house, a little bit further into the yard.
Sure, yeah. So the smaller one here is going to stay pretty small, about 2 feet by 2 feet. So that one, can fit in a lot of places, a lot of small spaces, good for container gardening too. Okay. The desert milkweed on the other side here is going to get a little bit taller, about 4 feet, 2 to 3 feet wide it can get. So
there's a little pill bug in there. Do you see it?
Yeah, so we got a lot of those we
call them potato bugs in Illinois.
So
he's on this side, Ty.
Oh, wait, but look,
some caterpillars in there. Yeah, so there are monarch caterpillars on that plant, right?
Mm-hmm. Really?
Very small.
Look, that little tiny one right there. Do you see it?
No, where?
I don't want to
you
bug
can,
it.
Yeah, you can move it. Yeah,
I'm now scared.
No,
I don't want to ruin the monarch population.
He's on the leaf?
Where? Right
yeah, on the underside.
Oh, they're so tiny.
There's quite a few.
I wish you guys could see this. This is so
They're
neat.
really small.
We'll try to take.
Let
They're
me move
really
this. They're
tiny, Dave.
super tiny.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to see.
We'll take some pictures and we will post them on our Instagram. Anita Roman, Fox 10, and Ty Brennan, right? Ty.Brennan. And we'll try to put those on. But that's how tiny they are.
So, and that one is a few days old. There are some even smaller ones on that plant. So when they hatch out of their egg, they're about the size of your eyelash. Really, really small.
Wow.
Really? This is fascinating.
How big do they get?
They're going to get quite a bit bigger, about an inch and a half.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we've blown through this time. I have so many more questions. If folks have more questions about milkweed, planting milkweed, and what you can do, I was on your website, the Desert Botanical Garden website. You guys have a whole thing there. Is that the best resource in areas where you can buy this?
Yeah, that's a great resource. My contact info is on the website as well, so people are welcome to reach out with questions, or we have a general contact email as well.
Awesome.
10 seconds, we're getting messages from people. You said everyone resonates with butterflies. And Lisa is saying when she sees one, she thinks it's her, she believes it's a message from her mom.
Oh, that's cool.
In heaven. Yeah. And that's really pretty. And a lot of people.
Welcome back. We continue the fun here on Fox 10 Talks at 11. We have a new guest with us. Dana, why don't you introduce yourselves for us?
Hi, I'm Dana McNeil, and I'm with RS Rodeo in Rawhide.
So exactly what do you do? Because you got a pretty important...
She rides bulls, Ty.
No, she doesn't.
No.
She already said, I do not ride the bulls.
That was my first question when you sat down. I said, have you ever ridden a bull?
No.
Neither have I.
No desire to either.
But you kind of help put on these big rodeos around town, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so we do, we produce rodeos. We're a stock contractor. We have bulls. We do bull ridings, sheep, calf, and steer riding too for the little guys, you know. So they're practicing to become bull riders one day, and we're all over doing that.
I would say bull riding is a age-old tradition or age-old sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes. It's very popular nowadays too. I mean, with the PBR and, you know, professional rodeo and stuff, it's just grown again. It was big in the 90s, and now it's back again.
Yeah, why do you think there is that resurgence? Because, I mean, I feel like there was like a little bit of a lull, but now all of a sudden, and I don't know if it's just because we live here in Arizona, but we hear about these rodeos, and they continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. Because I've been going out to one of the rodeos over in the East Valley. In the first year, you know, it was marginal. Now it's huge, and it's multi-day events. People camp out there. Why do you think rodeos have kind of had this resurgence?
I think it's because it's kind of it's exciting for one, and it's thrilling. You know, it's a lot of sitting on the edge of your seat watching these guys. But I think it's a family thing too. You know, you can bring the kids can be involved, and I think that bringing them up in rodeo is just giving a lot of what would you say, like, it grows character for these young guys, you know?
Because they didn't take care of these animals,
Yeah.
especially the horses, not necessarily
Yeah.
the bulls.
Well, someone has to take care of the bull and the sheep.
So how did you kind of get into this, Dana? How did you become kind of what you do now?
I grew up with horses and rodeo and whatnot, and then my husband decided after, I don't know, 40 years to get back on bulls again, and so we started with
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
What was that conversation at home when he came home and was like, hey, Dana, you know what I think I want to do? Ride bulls again?
Yeah.
What did you say?
Kind of that's how it happened, a little bit. Well, actually, my son decided that he wanted to start riding bulls, and so my husband was supporting him to do that, and then it just kind of snowballed into, well, I'll just get back on. And he's 65.
Oh.
So he rides the senior pro circuit.
Was
now.
he a bull rider when you met him?
It was so long ago. When he was young, he did do that.
So he wasn't riding when you met, so you didn't know that world as well. So you had, I would imagine, had hesitation to say, sure, hop on.
Well, yeah, because he's
Scary.
old now. I
Hope he's
tell
not
him that.
watching.
He probably will see it. He'll be mad, but it's okay.
But that is so much fun. What is it like for you to see not only him, but all of these other participants get out there? Because it really, like you mentioned, it really is one of those sports where you're on the seat of you're right on the
You're on the
seat.
edge,
What edge of
yeah.
your seat?
Edge
That's what
of
I'm
your
like.
seat.
The edge of your pants. I was like,
seat,
that's
I
not
was
the
gonna
right.
say the seat of your pants.
But it is. It's such a fun, fast-paced sport.
I hold my breath a lot. I do. I hold my breath. I pray for these guys that everybody comes out safe every time. And, sometimes there are accidents and people get injuries, and it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, when they do it, it's the most exciting. It's the adrenaline rush, and they're doing something that they love to do.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
I was looking at the chat. Some folks are chiming in. One person says, I'm 40. I think I'm old enough now to start mutton busting. You gotta start small, right?
Yeah.
But that is kind of like, that's the first foray
Progression.
for a lot of these younger individuals. They start with the mutton busting, right?
They
and
do.
for people that maybe have never been to a rodeo, because there's a couple of folks, I think, where did she go? Lisa says she's never been to a rodeo. Explain what mutton busting is.
Mutton busting, that is a sheep, and you get on the sheep, on the back of the sheep, and you hold on with all fours, grab around as tight as you can hold on.
This is a full-grown sheep?
Yeah.
A big, okay.
Yeah, they're big woolly sheep.
That's probably I don't even know if I would try that.
But those
and
kids...
they hang on to their fur, so they got them around the neck, and they're hanging on to the fur, and they're laying down on the back of them, and it's just fun. The kids... Either they love it, or they don't ever want to do it again.
I'm not ever going
Once
back.
you try.
Yeah. The bull riding, what is the goal?
The goal is to stay on 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
8.
Now, okay, so how does scoring work? Because I've always wondered, because I mean, you watch this, but there's a lot of like the judges, there's a lot of finesse that goes into this. It's not just holding on for dear life, right?
Well, it is.
It is?
It would be for me anyway.
Dana, I wish you could have seen your face.
She's like, no, it is.
No, it is. You're holding on for dear life. I mean, well,
But, like,
Well, the
there's-
rider is scored and the bull is scored.
and so
Okay.
what is the
So-
rider
See,
scored on?
I knew something.
The rider is scored by the way that they hold on and the way that they sit up. Or,
Does it have to be one arm?
Mm-hmm.
It
you
has
can't
to be.
touch.
You can't.
You can't touch them, and
You can't touch the bull.
No.
So what can
If
you?
you
What are you holding on to?
A rope.
That's it.
And your legs.
So-
Squeeze your legs.
So do you get more points if you stay on after 8 seconds? Then is that how's the scoring?
No, it's just 8. If you stay on 8 seconds, you can get off, or you know
Okay.
you're done.
How do you get off?
Wait, I'm
Well,
so
most of
hold
them
on.
will
No.
jump.
Yeah.
Or fall.
Where's
a lot of
the
them
Where's
fall
the
off.
rope? Where's the rope?
Around the bull's belly.
So you're just holding
So
on
like
to the
right
rope.
behind the
and then,
bull's
like,
front legs, there's a rope wrapped around, and then they hang on with their hand.
Let's see
like-
if we. I think we
like
maybe
this.
have
There's
some
probably
pictures.
video
Yeah,
or
and
something.
that's you asked that question, and I was going to ask the same thing. How do they get off then if they are on for more than 8 seconds and they don't
Well,
fall off?
sometimes they fall off, and sometimes they just jump off with one leg, throw one leg over, let their hand out of the rope, and jump.
What's
Anita's-
the longest anyone has ever ridden a bull?
Oh, I don't know.
Let's Google it.
She's
don't
gonna
know.
Google.
Yeah.
But this is kind of. Oh, there's the mutton busting.
Yep.
The little kid holding
Yep,
on for
little
dear
guys
life.
holding on.
I love it. But I mean, there is a lot of kind of checks and balances to make sure that, I mean, this is a dangerous sport, but there are those, the rodeo clowns. They look fun, but they're there for a
reason.
A reason. And what
Yeah.
is that reason? Explain what they're doing.
To distract the bull from like turning around and rolling a bull rider that's fallen off or got bucked off or something, and it like distracts them from seeing the guy on the ground, or to help them pull them out of the way, doing all
Okay, look, Anita, there's the bull. Just
Yeah.
with the one single rope, and he's just holding on.
Okay, so the Guinness World Record for the longest ride on a mechanical bull.
Oh.
No, that doesn't
I know,
count.
but this is what came up.
A
Hold
mechanical bull, come on.
on. Well, the mechanical bull was 2 minutes and 4.49 seconds. I just Googled a bull, so let's see what a real bull is.
Hold on.
We're searching.
This is real time.
We're searching.
Research.
It just keeps coming up, back up,
I
and
don't
up.
think because anybody's ever tried to go longer, honestly. I mean, if you're going to be on there for that long and
Yeah,
you
might as well, yeah.
win your ride,
You're going
then
for-
get off.
It
right?
looks like 7.4 seconds is the
okay.
longest ride. That's
No, but you have to be
J.W.
on-
Harris.
No, you have to be on for 8
8
seconds.
seconds to win.
You've got bad info.
Yeah.
I'm just reading.
All right. We'll do
Yeah.
some more research on that, Anita. But let's talk about, because you kind of go through and, oh, you found it?
98.75 point. This can't be right.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's just save that. Let's put a pin in that. We'll come
I'm
back
going to
to
stop
that
trying.
data. But you've got some fun stuff coming up, right, Dana?
Yes, this Saturday.
This Saturday. So, okay, so Lisa, you said that you have never been to a rodeo. Maybe this is the time to go. Where's it going to be?
At Rawhide in
Okay.
Chandler.
That's a fun location, right?
Yes. Beautiful arena over there. The bleachers, they have this seating on both sides of the arena, so you can see everything really well. It'll be at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. The gates open at 5. You can get your tickets online at rawhide.com.
Okay.
And there's discounts for, different things like military and kids and stuff like that. And then there's food, there's a bar, there's live music, there's bouncy houses.
It's gonna be a party,
It's a big
Dana.
old, it's fun. It's
Oh,
a
I
lot of
bet.
fun.
And that's a
Besides,
great
then you
location
see
at
bull
Rawhide, too.
riding and sheep, calf, and steer riding.
So let's talk about the other ones. So there's bull riding, and then there's the what again?
Sheep,
Sheep,
calf,
and
steer.
Okay.
So
And
it's
what's
a
the
progression.
difference? Okay.
Like
Oh,
a calf is a little calf,
Gotcha.
and you got to be 6. Well, you don't have to be 6 years old. We've had some younger that get on calves, but like 6 to 9-year-olds will ride a calf because they're smaller than a steer. And then the steers are for the older, like teenagers.
Okay.
Like from 9 to 13. I think.
Anita,
is
I
the
think you'd go
oldest.
right to a steer.
They still
I can't
buck.
even figure out what the longest bull ride is. So is this open to anyone to come register and actually ride? Or are these people who have been part of this world for a while and have been competing and are coming in and doing so?
For the bull riding, it is invitational. We invite bull riders to come, and they compete for a buckle, and they're all professionals. The kids stuff is we do like an online entry prior to the rodeo events, and then they can sign up on there and give it a try for the first time.
How fun.
So it's fun. And then on Saturday, we'll be taking kid entries between 4 and 5. Will be the cutoff at 5. And they can come and still get a chance to try it out, you know, to have that thrill.
Yeah. Is your husband going to be doing it again?
He'll be there. He'll be pulling gates this
So he's not going to be
no,
riding.
he won't be getting
He's not
on
going to be
this
riding any
weekend.
bulls. Okay, he'll be pulling gates. What does that mean? He's going to let
He's
the
going to
bull
open,
out.
let the bull out, and close it when the bull runs in.
Yeah.
How much do these bulls weigh?
Oh gosh,
A lot.
a lot.
So I
Google that. How much does a bull
I'm
weigh?
afraid to Google anything anymore.
I don't know how much they weigh.
They're heavy.
I used to work in Las Vegas, so I covered PBR.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one of the biggest competitions, right? Is that how you
Yes.
would describe it?
Yes.
People compete from all over the world, and they took me down underneath where they keep all the bulls to walk through to go interview some of the riders, some of the competitors, and I was terrified the sheer size of these things.
They're
was
big.
unbelievable.
Huge. Yeah.
Now ours are maybe not they're not the caliber of a PBR bull because they're not going to buck as hard and they're not going to be mean and turn back and try
Are
to
they
hurt.
really mean?
Oh, bulls?
yeah.
Some bulls are really mean. Some are not.
Okay.
Ours are older. They're a little slower.
What if you get a bull that doesn't want to buck and it just kind of walks around and you just hang on? You
well,
still win?
You get lucky.
Yeah, then you get lucky. It's like,
You get lucky.
So
and
there
you
is it
win
kind of
the
like
money.
luck of the draw. It really is. Like you don't know
Yeah,
what
they do
kind
a
of
draw.
They do.
oh yeah. How do you pick up which bull you're riding?
So the bulls are numbered or named or whatever. We put them in a hat. Their names or numbers in a hat. And then the rider will pull out a poker chip that has the matching bull. So they don't know who they're going to get on because then it's more fair. You know?
that.
So it's a draw.
Typically, a PBR bull typically weighs between 1,200 and 2,000 pounds.
According to Frankie D, who looked this up for us. Thank you.
Average weight is around 1,700 to 1,800 pounds.
Yeah.
There you go.
And some can weigh as much as 2,100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, those are some big ones.
That is some big ones. Well,
Yeah.
this is going to be so much fun. All right, we've got about 30 seconds left. Give us one more time where folks can get some tickets if they want to go out there Saturday.
Rawhide.com.
All right. This will be a fun
rawhide.com.
Mother's Day, early Mother's Day
Absolutely.
gift. Go take mom out to the
Yeah.
rodeo.
And, you know, have some food and listen to live music. As
And
soon as
bounce
we're
in the
done with the
house.
rodeo.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and the bouncy houses. It's a lot of fun.
I bet. Well, Dana, thank you so much for coming in this morning. We do
Thanks for
appreciate it.
having me.
Anytime you want to come back, we're here.
Okay.
Every day at 11.
Next
All
time,
right.
bring a bull.